Welcome to the deep dive. So you're trying to pick a coding platform. Feels like there are a ton out there, right?
It really can feel that way.
It's like choosing where to go to college, but instead of, worrying about dorms, you're thinking, will I learn enough Python to build my own robot army?
Well, maybe not robot armies, not always. But yeah, the stakes are high.
Yeah.
This choice can really shape your coding journey.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into three big names. You've probably heard of them. Leetcode, Codecademy, and this newer one, AlgoCademy.
And each one, they kind of have their own personality.
So picture this Leetcode. It's like the coding boot camp, right?
Yeah.
Hardcore training montage. You're sweating over algorithms.
That's Leetcode for sure.
Yeah.
Very intense, very focused on problem solving.
And the article we read, it mentioned Leetcode having over 2,000 coding challenges. That's a lot of challenges.
It's designed to really push you, especially on algorithms, which, let's be honest, those are huge for tech interviews.
Oh, absolutely. Those can make or break you. But it makes me wonder, is Leetcode the best place to start if you're completely new to coding?
It's a good question. Imagine learning to swim by being thrown into the ocean. That's kind of what Leetcode can feel like for a beginner. It's best when you've got some coding experience under your belt already.
Makes sense. So if Leetcode is the ocean, is Codecademy more like the kiddie pool?
Well, that might not be entirely fair.
Okay, fair enough.
It's more like, think of a really well-structured swimming lesson.
Okay, I could see that.
They ease you in, focus on the fundamentals. Before you're doing laps, you got to learn to float.
Mm-hmm. Right. And the article highlighted that Codecademy is super interactive. Instant feedback, you can see your code come to life. That's pretty motivating.
Absolutely. It's very beginner friendly. But, and maybe this is where the kiddie pool analogy comes back in, some people find that it doesn't always dive deep enough.
Ah, okay, so you might not be ready for the deep end after just Codecademy.
It depends. For some, it's a great starting point, but then they might need something more to really master those complex concepts.
Makes sense. So we've got the intense boot camp and the structured lesson. Where does AlgoCademy fit in? They seem to be going for this whole best of both worlds thing.
And that's what makes them really interesting. They're trying to bridge that gap, beginner-friendly, but also preps you for those tough interview questions.
And they're throwing AI into the mix, too. AI tutors. That's either brilliant or terrifying, or maybe both.
It's definitely cutting edge. I'm really curious to see how effective it is in the long run.
Yeah, like, can AI really replace that human touch in learning?
Or maybe it can enhance it. That's what AlgoCademy seems to be betting on. Instead of replacing the teacher, the AI acts more like a superpowered teaching assistant, I guess.
I like that, a superpowered TA. Okay, so we've got our three platforms. We've got the boot camp, the structured lesson, and the AI-powered personalized approach.
It's almost like those choose-your-own-adventure books, but for coding.
And just like those books, the best choice depends entirely on the reader, or in this case, the coder.
Exactly. What are your goals? How do you learn best? Those are the questions to ask yourself.
Right on. So let's dive into each of these platforms a bit deeper, starting with Leetcode, the coding Thunderdome. All right, so let's jump back into the coding platform arena, and this time, we're taking a closer look at Leetcode. It's known for its intense coding challenges, but is it really all about being the fastest gun in the coding saloon?
Well, there's definitely a competitive element to it. I mean, you've got that ranking system.
Right, the article mentioned that it's like the leaderboard in an arcade game, only instead of racking up points for blasting aliens, you're earning bragging rights for, like, optimizing binary search trees.
Exactly. And for some people, that's incredibly motivating. That drive to climb the ranks, to see their name at the top, it pushes them to improve, to refine their skills.
Yeah, like those folks who thrive under pressure, the ones who see a coding challenge as a duel of wits.
Exactly. But for others, that kind of environment can be intimidating, even counterproductive.
Totally. I can see how constantly comparing yourself to others could take the fun out of learning. It's like, oh, I just finally figured out how to implement a linked list, but this other person is already building a self-learning AI using Python. Talk about a blow to the ego.
Exactly. And when you're starting out, it's so important to focus on your own progress, not on how you measure up to others.
Right, because everyone learns at their own pace, and comparing yourself to someone who's been coding since they were, 5 years old is just setting yourself up for frustration.
Exactly. So while Leetcode's competitive atmosphere can be a great motivator for some, it's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance between challenge and, not feeling like you're constantly on the verge of a coding meltdown.
Precisely. And that's where Codecademy takes a different approach. They're all about creating a more supportive, collaborative learning environment.
Right. They emphasize the community aspect of coding. Like, you're all in this together, learning and growing as a team.
Exactly. They have forums, chat rooms, even study groups where you can connect with other learners, ask for help, share your struggles and triumphs.
It's like that saying, the only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
Absolutely. And sometimes, just knowing that you're not alone in your struggles can make all the difference.
Totally. It's easy to feel lost and discouraged when you're staring at a screen full of error messages, but having that support system, that sense of camaraderie, can really help you push through those tough moments.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders cheering you on as you debug that pesky segmentation fault.
Exactly. Okay, so Leetcode is the intense training ground. Codecademy is the supportive team environment. How does AlgoCademy approach this whole learning to code thing?
AlgoCademy is interesting because they're really leaning into the personalization aspect of learning.
Right. They talk about their AI tutors, like having a personalized coding coach at your fingertips.
Exactly. Their platform is designed to adapt to your individual learning style and pace.
So it's less about following a rigid curriculum and more about creating a customized learning path based on your unique needs and goals.
Precisely. They use AI to analyze your progress, identify your strengths and weaknesses, and recommend specific exercises or concepts to focus on.
That's pretty cool. It's like having a coding GPS that guides you towards your destination based on your current location and any roadblocks you might encounter along the way.
Exactly. And this personalized approach extends to their feedback mechanisms as well.
Right, because getting feedback is crucial, but it's got to be the right kind of feedback, right?
Absolutely. Leetcode's feedback is very binary. You either pass the test case or you don't.
So it's like, congratulations, your code compiled, or not.
Right.
Not exactly the most helpful feedback for a beginner who's trying to figure out why their code isn't working as expected.
Exactly. Codecademy provides more detailed feedback, often pointing out specific errors in your code, but AlgoCademy takes it a step further.
Okay, so they're not just telling you that you made a wrong turn, they're showing you a map of all the possible routes and explaining why some are more efficient than others.
Exactly. They use AI to analyze your code at a deeper level, looking for areas where it could be more efficient, more elegant, more readable, basically how to write code like a pro.
That's huge, especially for someone who's just starting out and might not have that experienced developer's eye for detail.
Precisely. It's like having a mentor looking over your shoulder, offering guidance and encouragement every step of the way.
Okay, so we've talked about the learning environments, the feedback mechanisms, but let's get down to brass tacks. How does the actual content on these platforms stack up?
That's a key question. Leetcode is laser-focused on those technical interview questions, algorithms, data structures, system design.
So it's the stuff that'll make you sweat, but it's also the stuff that'll land you a job at those big tech companies.
Exactly. Codecademy, on the other hand, takes a broader approach. They cover a wider range of programming languages and concepts, from web development to game development to data science.
So it's like a coding buffet. You can sample a little bit of everything and see what piques your interest.
Exactly. And AlgoCademy seems to fall somewhere in between. They cover a good mix of fundamental concepts and more advanced interview-focused topics.
So they're trying to give you a well-rounded coding education that prepares you for a variety of career paths, not just those big tech giants.
Exactly. And this reflects a broader trend in the coding world. It's not just about those FAAng jobs anymore.
Right. There are so many different ways to use coding skills these days. Freelance work, startups, even just automating tasks in your current job.
And that's something to keep in mind when you're choosing a platform. Think about your long-term goals. What kind of coding do you want to be doing in 5-10 years?
Because the platform that's right for you is the one that aligns with your vision for the future. It's like, figuring out your coding career path is just as important as mastering those technical skills.
Absolutely. It's about finding the right fit, the right niche for your interests and your goals.
Because coding isn't just about, churning out lines of code. It's about creating, building, solving problems in a way that's meaningful to you.
Precisely. And that's something that I think sometimes gets lost in all the talk about, which programming language is the hottest or which company pays the highest salaries.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the hype. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into the world of coding platforms, what's the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting out, feeling a little overwhelmed by all the choices and not sure where to begin?
Honestly, don't overthink it. Just pick one and start coding. The most important thing is to get your hands dirty, experiment, make mistakes, Learn from them.
It's like that old saying, the best way to learn is by doing.